So before I start this video, guys, we do have one of the old school mainline characters in the comic coming in. Another one, we had Shiva, now we've got Rosita. What other characters are you looking forward to coming back into the game as S-class characters? I'm talking about your Ricks, your Negans, your Michonnes, Ezekiels. Do reply to the top comment and tell me which character you're looking forward to the most. On to the video. Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video. In this video we're going to be taking a first look at S-class Rosita, who is going to be the first S-class Rosita to come into the game. Visually, she's just classic Rosita in terms of her get-up. Very skimpy gear, shall we say. Very bloodied. She does have an attached weapon, as you can see, but it is just the classic Rosita. She does have an AK on her back, so she's foregoing the tough character, and she is going to be a fast character this time around. We'll check out her stats. She's got 3,660 attack, 3,873 defense, and 4,764 HP. Her trait is fast and her role is tank. Now obviously she has got quite high HP, so it kind of fits in with that role. Going across to the adrenaline rush is called Numb the Pain, recharge rate of 76 AP. This character regains up to 50% of their max HP for 2 turns and recovers from normalize. Up to 2 teammates gain 50% bonus HP and 50% defense for 3 turns. So the way I'm reading this is like 4 parts to this. The first part is obviously a 2-turn 50% heal. That's 100% heal. That's huge. And the recover from normalize obviously means that this character's specialist skill, and this character is a specialist as you can see, if normalized will be recovered from and then it will still be effective. Normalize basically neutralizes a specialist skill. The last part says up to 2 teammates gain 50% bonus HP and 50% defense for 3 turns. Now, my assumption here is that the 2 teammates get 50% bonus HP as the first part, and then the second part is separate with the 50% defense for 3 turns. I don't think that's going to be a 50% bonus HP for 3 turns. I don't think there is any bonus HP over time just yet, so I don't think that's going to be the case. So it's just going to be a 50% bonus HP, which is still high. Obviously that is combated by things like bleed, burn, that sort of thing can bypass this, but that's still pretty high. 50% defense as well is pretty high, especially considering this character is a tank. Will most likely be used on the defense team. That's going to boost anyone's defensive stats and they're going to be very happy. 50% defense is actually huge. Going on to the wrong character, however, it may not be too beneficial. A character like S-class Shiva with the Payback, you don't actually necessarily want to raise her defense too much, otherwise she's not going to take much damage from those rushes. Now of course Rosita has got an active skill and it's very powerful. It is attack down and taunt. It has an initial cooldown of 2, and number of uses 5. 225 is very strong. Obviously 235 is kind of like the norm. Initial cooldown of 2, is immense. That means every other turn she can pop this. That is incredible without a doubt. Now what this does is the target enemy will get minus 75% attack for 2 turns. All other teammates get taunt for 1 turn. That means 4 enemies will get taunted for 1 turn. Every other turn, Rosita will gain 20 AP just from those taunted attacks, and then she only needs to get the other 56 AP from attacking that 1 time. Now, she will gain a little bit more AP just based on the fact that she will take a little bit of damage. She could potentially just have AP on defense. This would be one of the few characters which would not need AP on attack to get their rushes turn 3 on a defense team, and turn 6 and turn 9 because of those taunted attacks. As long as it's consistent and she does the active skill every single time, AP on defense is almost a must for this character on a defense team. The minus 75% attack is pretty huge. I'm not sure of the AI targeting here. I guess it would just focus the character with the highest attack stat like it does with the dogpiling. And basically, let's say you're Priya who has 20,000 attack. If you have it massively buffed out with all the team player characters, would be hugely debuffed with that minus 75% attack. It is for 2 turns as well. That is quite a long time. Obviously, this is going to be 100% up because it's going to run out and then she's going to pop it again because the active skill has got a cooldown of 2. 2. Very powerful active, but the main power comes from the fact that it can go off every 2 turns. The initial cooldown of 2 is something we have seen before, but the cooldown of 2 is not something that we see too often. Now, as we go across to the specialist skill, this is where everything comes together so far. The high base HP, the HP heal on the rush, the normalized recover, and also the taunt will play into this specialist skill massively. It is going to be Bide, and I'll just read out the description for Bide. You all know what it does, but just to read it out, this character stores the damage it takes from attacks, active abilities, and rushes. After reaching 2000 stored damage, or if the defend action is used, deal 150% of the stored damage to one enemy immediately. Stored damage is reset to 0 after use. Bide does not trigger if this character is killed. Now, the biggest problem with Bide characters in the 6-star era was the fact that there was no real counter to them except maybe Guardian Shield, or if you could magically one-shot them in the 6-star era, that was actually quite hard. But huge amounts of HP on Bide characters make them almost impossible to take down, especially a character like L, who could heal themselves, but constantly getting healed, popping off after 2000 damage taken, and one-shotting characters constantly. Now, Bide in the S-class era isn't going to be as powerful in terms of just like the single hit. It will one-shot the odd S-class here and there, just because a lot of S-class characters have big offensive stats. Personally, I do run with HP on a couple of my offensive S-class characters, but still it will do a massive amount of damage. 6-star characters are going to be absolutely wrecked 100% of the time. She could just defend to just one-shot your 6-star characters here and there, which is, those generally are just your support characters, unfortunately. So like certain leaders like Carl, for instance, or your commands, those characters are just going to be completely nullified every now and again. Just the specialist skill pop off just on the random. Now, unless you have sustain on your attack team, that means someone who's going to heal your characters back up, this Bide, in combination with that heal, in combination with the base HP, which can be obviously boosted by combat mods, boosted by the weapon, is going to happen like potentially 4 or 5 times in a raid. Normalize is going to become massively important. Taunt resist on this character is 100% a must, because one of the few ways to counter this would be with Princess, and she obviously has taunt on that active as well. So if you resist that active, you can still rush, then obviously your specialist skill will still work. So very, very powerful combo between the, I guess, the 4 things: the base HP, the adrenaline rush, the active, and the specialist skill. Those taunts into the Bide as well is obviously going to make it build up quite a bit. Now, on top of all of this, she does have an attached weapon. Now, first off, I'm going to say, just because it instantly tilts me, I'm pretty sure she's holding the karambit the wrong way round. That is not how you hold a karambit. That loop that you see that's at the base of that knife is meant to be where your thumb is. And your index finger is meant to go through that hole so that you can hold it and grip it nice and easy. I'm 99% sure that's how you hold a karambit. I have got one actually, but when I hold it, I'm pretty sure it goes off to the side like that. That's how I've always held it anyway. Played CSGO, so that's how you hold it. But back to the weapon. Not tilting off the planet too much. Rosita's reprisal karambit knife, 30% base defense, a medium bonus to AP when taking damage, and then the last slot is reflect damage when being attacked, a 100% chance to deal 80% of the damage to the enemy when your HP is more than 75%. Now, I've got massively mixed feelings on this weapon, as in, I think this weapon is terrible. I think 30% defense is definitely not the way to go on this character. You want to boost that HP massively. You want to go with HP for sure. Now, the medium bonus to AP when taking damage is okay, but you obviously, that's the upgrade slot. I would say huge bonus when taking damage if you want to get the combo going. You might want to test it out first. You know, you might want to just test it out with just a medium bonus to see how it works in terms of the active going off. Obviously, you can attack your own defense now if you get this character, so you can see how it works. The third slot I don't think is very good, because it is actually going to give AP to the attack team, so I would say this is not a good way to go. I would say it's better to keep this character as a window though. Absolute defense is a big no-no in my opinion. That if you have AP on defense, that's going to be enough of a like non-window. You do not want this character rushing, you do not want this character in the active skill, so you want to control this character with actives and stuff like that yourself. I'm not sure what you could really use in that third slot that would actually be decent. You know, you could potentially go kind of weird, like using the diamond knife with impair on attack. So you're just adding a bit more control to Rosita's kit. There's definitely better options than this base knife, and I think it's a real shame because this base knife doesn't really have anywhere to go. I think if you did get this knife, you perhaps would want to just upgrade it as is and just 5-star it and then swap in something that is actually useful. You could go for an 8% weapon, of course, but not many 8% weapons are going to have AP on defense if that turns out to be the way to go. So it's a very, very hard weapon to build for this character. You're probably going to have to build a brand new weapon. I do look forward to seeing what weapons people come up with. If you have any ideas of the kind of weapon that could fit into Rosita's hands, do let me know, because like I said, I don't think this base weapon is a very good starting block at all. Now, what Rosita does do, which is very interesting, is she does increase the value of Aaron, who is in the current event, particularly to Wales. Obviously, free-to-play want to try and get Aaron as is, but Wales probably saw it and just went, nah, that's not for me. But now that you can use Shiva as a payback character and Rosita as a Bide behind Aaron as a leader, suddenly the value of Aaron is like, that guy actually could be pretty decent just based on the characters that you can use with him. Not necessarily for Aaron himself, although his active isn't too bad, a turn 2 now, and it impairs 3 for 2 turns. Like, there's a lot of control potential there. So I can see Wales suddenly changing their opinion on Aaron, especially if they've got Shiva, especially if they're going to go for Rosita as well. What do I think of Rosita herself? I think Rosita can just basically be like Elle, and back in the day in the 6-star era, Elle could just go in any team. She didn't need leader bonus, she didn't need anything. She could just sit there, annoying as hell, and the fact that this character has that massive taunt on her active is just going to be so frustrating to deal with. You're going to have to daze this character, you're going to have to normalize this character, you're going to have to impair this character, because if any of those 3 things go off, it's just going to be absolutely horrible, because obviously the adrenaline rush is going to stop the normalize which you put on that character. Obviously the active is going to make that specialist skill just build up. Depending on the weapon options that you go for, I'm not sure if there's any actual really nice off-trait weapons that you could put on in this character's hands. I don't think there are, where it could actually control on defense. I'm pretty sure it's just the only one you can really go for is impair on attack. But yeah, very dangerous character, and I've got no doubts a lot of people are going to want to pull for this one. And it is one of, like I said, one of the old school main characters coming back into the game. It is Rosita. Do tell me what you think about her as an S-class character, guys. That is the end of my video. Thank you very much for tuning in. And as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.